And then there were two. Welcome to the greatest week of the year, Grand Final Week 2025. This is the Billy Slater Podcast. We do it all thanks to Tab. All roads lead to a Core Stadium on Sunday, Billy, for Storm v Broncos. How are you?
I'm well. There are two teams and only one will win it. What a great week Grand Final Week is. I don't know, it's very unique because Origin Week, the build-up is 10 days, but you come together as a footy team in a short period of time, whereas these guys have been together for 10 months. They've been embarking on this journey from October last year, November last year, through the pre-season, and then through a 27-week grueling NRL season, and then the final series. So it's a long journey to get to Grand Final Week, and such an enjoyable week, and it's going to be an incredible game. We're going to get through so many things, talking points, matchups, battles, who's going to win, who's not going to win, and why in the next 40 or so minutes. And yeah, looking forward to this grand final and the whole week in general.
Yeah, it's a special week. Can we just touch on what we saw last weekend? First of all, Friday night, and how the Melbourne Storm progressed in beating the Sharks.
Yeah, I think the first thing we saw, both of these teams that got through to the grand final just had that advantage with the week off. I thought the run in the legs towards the back end of the games was evident in both the Storm and the Broncos. The Storm, they got their classy players back. Jerome Hughes was enormous coming back from a broken arm. I thought Harry Grant, Cameron Munster, Stefano Tuikamanu was great up front, and they're an informed team, the Sharks, and Melbourne had to be somewhere near their best. They weren't quite at their best, but they were getting back towards their best, and their key position players came up with some nice moments in crucial times and just got the wood over the Sharks and got them into another grand final. That's 2 in a row now for Craig Bellamy.
Yes, they're back there again, and it's 2 out of 3 for the Brisbane Broncos. First year for Michael Maguire in charge. Was amazing scenes at Suncorp on Sunday.
So they had to overcome a 16-point deficit against Canberra 2 weeks ago, and then at half-time in a preliminary final up against the 4-time reigning premiers, they were 14-0 down at half-time. That's to overcome that. It's starting to become a trend in their game. Look, they probably don't want that trend to be down so much at half-time, but to have that ability and have that belief to come back and beat a quality team like the Panthers, again, Reece Walsh come up with a big moment towards the end of the game that got the ball over the top to Dean Mariner, and he burrowed down and scored the try, and then Adam Reynolds kicked that goal. What a moment that was. I just thought the buzz around Suncorp Stadium, even 4 or 5 hours before the game, was very much like Grand Final Day, and they will be riding on all that emotion. They'll be riding on the fanfare around Brisbane at the moment, the Broncos, and it's going to be. There's so many stars in this grand final. I'm really looking forward to it.
It's an intriguing matchup, isn't it, Billy? Both teams played each other in round 27, Brisbane and Melbourne, but I think a point has to be made that there was no Ezra Mam and Adam Reynolds for Brisbane, and there was no Harry Grant, and I think importantly too, no Stefano Tuikamanu in that round 27 game for the Melbourne Storm.
Yeah, and only a month before that, round 23, they played each other as well, and that was the game that Ezra Mam, Selwyn Cobbo, and Adam Reynolds all tore their hamstring. So they all gained injuries, and we thought their season was over. So these two teams know each other really well. They played each other a few times in the last 6 weeks, or 2 times in the last 6 weeks, and it's really important. And the other thing is they're all fully fit now. I think they've got the strongest teams that they could possibly field. Xavier Willison's back, and I thought he was enormous on the weekend as well. Pat Carrigan, who missed that preliminary final against the Panthers, he's back in the team now, and then for the Melbourne Storm, you've got the 4 key position players in Munster, Harry Grant, Hughes and Pappenhausen. They've only played 8 times all collectively together this year, and before that preliminary final, they the last time they played together was round 17. So they're starting to get all the stars collectively on the field at the one time, and it all culminates in the grand final that's going to be on Sunday.
It's interesting when you start to talk about how fit teams are. It means that there's hard luck stories in grand final week, and one of those is a player that only made his debut in round 18 in Ben Tolte, who is the unlucky one to miss out in the Broncos 17.
Yeah, with Pat Carrigan coming back into the team, someone had to make way for that. That was always going to happen. Pat Carrigan was always going to come back into the footy team, and unfortunately for Ben Tolte, he's the one that misses out. And it was probably between Ben Tolte and Tyson Smoothy. And to be fair, Tyson Smoothy did a really good job starting the game in the middle of the field. He's usually a dummy half, but can play that middle forward role as well. And that's probably another bit of versatility that the Michael Maguire was looking at as well. So look, always some really hard luck stories, and the positive is these two teams have got some quality players that aren't going to be making that 17. The Melbourne Storm are in the same boat with Jonah Pezzett and Grant Anderson and these sort of players that are going to miss out on the grand final if they play as they are named.
I want you to, Billy, just think about the approach of this game from a Craig Bellamy point of view and what he would be expecting from Brisbane. Have Brisbane shown their cards by going with Man Smoothie on the bench? Do you expect them to use the footy a lot, play an expansive style? So what would Melbourne be expecting from this Broncos team on Sunday night?
Yeah, look, it's an interesting one. I don't think we can expect anything that we haven't seen from any of these two teams. I don't think that they'll be going after anything that they haven't done already. They'll just be trying to find their best balance with their game. I know both of these coaches will be looking at the conservative side of the game. Both teams have enough talent and have enough. I would call it courage. You look at some of the individuals in these footy teams, and they're not afraid to go after the game. So that's going to be there. But knowing these two coaches, they're very much conservative, play the percentages type of coaches, and then the exciting players will actually balance that out to play a bit of footy. So I think both teams will go after the grinding game, and one team will get a little bit bored of that, and then they'll go after their game. And if it comes off, they'll get the advantage. If it doesn't come off, they'll give the other team the advantage.
Let's talk about two of the excitement machines in Ryan Pappenhausen and Reece Walsh. That they'll have their opportunities on Sunday night. Is it a case of they have to be patient? What's their approach? What's the approach from these two dynamic number ones?
Yeah, this is probably the matchup that everyone's really looking forward to because, and I've worked with both of these guys, and I've got a great relationship with both players, both people, probably more to the point, and my relationship goes far beyond just the footy field with these two guys and their careers. So I think whoever the team that actually builds their foundation better will actually give their individual fullback the advantage. That's what I believe. If the team that doesn't build their foundation and that makes a few errors early in the game and puts themselves under pressure and has to do a lot of defence, well, all of a sudden it's going to be hard for that fullback to get into the game. The team that actually builds the ascendancy through the middle of the field and completes their first 10 sets and puts the ball in the corner, and all of a sudden you get an even share of field position and possession, then that fullback can ignite themselves into the game. And we saw Ryan Pappenhausen do it towards the back end of the game against the Sharks. He took a carry, and 2 plays later he got on the inside of Munster, saw an opportunity for a little kick. Kennedy was up in the defensive line and scored a try just before half-time. I think that was a crucial try in the match. It actually put them in front by 8 points, and they just felt like they could control the game from there. So I think the team that holds the ball and that builds their foundation will give their fullback the best opportunity. And both of these fullbacks are electric. And they're probably two of the players that will get bored with that continual play, and they'll want to try something, they'll pull something out, and often it actually works for them. I think Reece Walsh is probably the form player in the competition over the last 2 months, and he's probably the most dangerous player for the Melbourne Storm.
Did Reece show his maturity, Billy, on Sunday? Because Penrith had him well contained, but all he needed was that one moment, that acceleration. How we got that ball away was spectacular to Mariner. But as we say, all he needs is, well, it's not even a moment. It was just that half a moment, wasn't it?
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. The thing with Reece is he's just got to get the footy. He's got to get the footy in his hands. He's got to get himself in good positions, and that's what he's been doing of late. I think the maturity in Reece Walsh has been evident over the last couple of months when Adam Reynolds hasn't been there, Ezra Mam hasn't been there. He's really stood up into that leadership role within the footy team on the field. So, he's playing as confident as I've seen him play. He feels like he's the one that's really contributing to the points in the footy team, and that's how you want those players feeling. You want them feeling confident to go after the game, and that's why he's probably the most dangerous player on the field at the moment for the Melbourne Storm. And they'll be doing their homework to try and nullify his chances. But again, it comes back to that foundation of the game. It comes back to the team part of the game. Whoever gets that right, that'll give these stars the advantage.
You talk about the foundation, and then we've spoken about the two number ones, the conductors, I guess you can call them that, of both of these teams, the halves. Munster and Hughes v Hunter and Reynolds.
Yeah, wow, that's pretty exciting, isn't it? Very experienced players. One, Jerome Hughes, he's the halfback for New Zealand, won a premiership. We've got Cameron Munster, and we all know what type of player he is, whether it be at origin level, playing for Australia, or playing in premiership winning teams. And then the other side, you've got Adam Reynolds, who's already led a team as a halfback to a premiership in South Sydney. And Ben Hunt has really stood up in big moments, not just this year, but throughout the years in origins as well. So they're the experience, they're the measured ones, and we talk about that foundation of this game and who's going to win that. Well, these guys are controlling the kicking, they're controlling where the field position is, and they're controlling how they play, whether they put the ball through the middle of the field and play between the scrum lines, or whether they start pulling the trigger and hitting the Pappenhausens and the Staggs and Reece Walshes and bringing these guys into the game. So these guys will have control of that foundation of the game, and they'll play a big part in how this game is played.
Just on Ben Hunt, we talk about him being in the halves. He won't be in the halves for the whole game, though. Can you see Ezra Mam and Ben Hunt being used in a similar way this week to what we saw last Sunday?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's exactly how it'll work. I think Ezra Mam will be on halfway through that first half, maybe 30 minutes into the first half. A fresh Ezra Mam coming on at the back end of that first half will be really dangerous. Ben Hunt, he came up with some really big plays towards the end of that game in the preliminary final. He was the one that went down the short side through that pass that got knocked down from Nathan Cleary, and Willison picked it up and scored to get them back or just get that momentum back in their favour. I think it'll definitely happen in the first half, and I think it's a really good move. I actually wouldn't be surprised if Ben Hunt plays a little bit of middle forward as well. If Corey Pakes is going really good and the middle forward needs a break, Ben Hunt can fill that role for 10 minutes in the middle of the field and just play like that ball player. And then you've got Carrigan and Payne Haas and Hetherington and these sort of guys with great leg speed can just look at using their leg speed and running the football.
clash of the forwards, we mentioned Stefano Toikamanu against Payne Haas, and so many other really good forwards. I'm, for one, Billy, looking forward to seeing, the back rows, I think, are the unsung heroes of both of these teams. Katoa has been sensational. I think that Brendan Piakura is really coming into his own, but all the back rowers, they're going to play a big role on Sunday.
Yeah, absolutely. And those two guys, Piakura and Katoa, they'll be head to head. Piakura's on the left hand side of the field for the Broncos, and Katoa's on the right hand side for the Melbourne Storm. So they'll be right opposite each other, and they're two guys that have not just a great work ethic and a great style to their game. They've got a great talent as well. Piakura is great on his feet. I've got a really high opinion of Brendan Piakura. And then Eli Katoa, I don't know if there's a better back rower in the game at the moment than Eli Katoa. And the one guy that does unlock Eli is Jerome Hughes. Jerome hasn't played much football over the last 2 months. I think he's played a game and a half. And Eli Katoa, he will reap the benefits of having Jerome Hughes back in his pocket there, because he's put him through a lot of space over the course of the year. And I'd expect that's where they'd be looking to attack as well with Eli Katoa.
Would much have been said around Melbourne, particularly from either Craig Bellamy or Frank Panisi to Stefano with his comments earlier in the week?
I don't think so. Look, it's not ideal, but and I think if Craig had his way, he probably would rather it not be said. But at the end of the day, it's said now. If there's any pressure it puts on anyone, it's Stefano, because he's the one that said it, and he's the one that's got to back it up now. So, look, to be honest, like knowing Stefano, he's not that sort of guy. He's not that sort of a guy to stir the pot and say stuff like that. But he obviously felt it. He said it, and now he's got to back it up. So it just looked like to me that he's a guy that probably isn't used to standing in front of a microphone and talking and answering questions. And when the journalist doubled up on his question, he probably felt he needed to say something, and that's what came out of his mouth. So look, at the end of the day, I don't think you need any more motivation to go and play in a grand final. We've got last year's runners up against the year before's runners up. So I think there's a fair bit of redemption and motivation, from what they didn't do over the last couple of years, rather than a couple of words that someone said.
Yeah. And I think that when you look through both of these teams, you make mention about the biggest motivating factor is a premiership. And then, as you say, they've both been beaten grand finalists. But I love all the little sub-stories throughout this week. We've spoken already about Ben Hunt, but it's 10 years on since his grand final heartbreak against the Cowboys, and here he is back in Broncos colours. Hadn't played a finals game in 7 years heading into this year's final series, and he gets another crack at it on grand final day.
Yeah. For the Melbourne Storm, there's 15 players in this starting 17 that played in last year's grand final. That fire is very new. It's very recent. For the Broncos, there's a whole heap of players that played in the 2023 grand final. That fire is very recent. Ben Hunt's fire has been going for 10 years. That's a long time. Ben Hunt hasn't had an opportunity to right the wrongs of 2015 since, for 10 years. Like, that's like I don't know, like I'm all in Melbourne. I am all in Melbourne, but wouldn't that be great to see him, win a premiership after all that heartache of what happened, in 2015? And he's such a great fella. He's an all-in sort of a player. He's so courageous and competitive, and he's done a fantastic job. And to be honest, that first 10 rounds of the competition, I thought he was combining really well with Adam Reynolds. I think their kicking game is a huge asset to them. The way that they've got 3 genuine strike kickers in their team, Reece Walsh, Adam Reynolds, and Ben Hunt, and they've all kicked 40-20s this year. They're standing on top of the 40-20 list in the NRL by a mile. They've got 11. The next best is 7, and that's the Melbourne Storm. So they're a really dangerous kicking unit, and Ben Hunt was doing that really well at the start of the year. He's picking his times. He was waiting for that opportunity to kick down his edge, letting Adam Reynolds do all the kicks. And now Reece Walsh is really jumping in there and feeling like he can own the kicking as well. So I think that's a real strike for them and something that they will go after. But yeah, it's a great story. There's a lot of great storylines and probably none bigger than the Ben Hunt story.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Billy, just one thing there on kicking, and you've spoken about it, and I think there was a game recently where you and Joey were in the commentary box together and we were talking about just what a weapon it is. Even if you don't get a 40-20, you know, the boot of Munster and Hughes, the boot of Walsh in particular, just that ability to get you out of trouble and to deceive the fullback and find the grass.
Yeah, that can turn the game. And it doesn't have to be a 40-20. It can be a driving kick on the fourth tackle into the corner, hit the grass a couple of times and allow your chasers to get down there. All of a sudden, you've just won the field position battle. All of a sudden, you've just pinned the fullback in the corner or the winger in the corner, and it's tackle 3 and 4 before the opposition all get back on side, and they're only on their 30-metre line, and they're kicking out of their own territory, and all of that can change the game. And when I played, and especially in big games, like we talk about Reece Walsh up against Ryan Papenhuyzen, and that's a battle in itself. But the biggest battle for these two fullbacks will be the kicking units against them. Will be Munster, Hughes, Harry Grant up against Reece Walsh, and then you've got Walsh, Hunt, and Reynolds up against Papenhuyzen and his back three team. That'll be an important battle on who wins the field position, which is the foundation of our game, what we're talking about, the foundation. Who wins that, then that'll give the advantage for the Stars to go and shine.
Just before we move on, and we'll come back to the grand final a little bit later on when we get your predictions, and we'll touch on the NRLW grand final in just a moment as well. There's two players I want to ask you about, Billy, who've been, they're outside backs who could hold a big key this week. One, Xavier Coates, who's got a great try-scoring record against any team, but particularly against Brisbane. And the other is the wild man in the centres for Brisbane in Katoni Staggs. Two players certainly to watch on Sunday.
I'll start with Katoni Staggs, and we talk about that word maturity, and we spoke about it with Reece Walsh. I think he's really matured into a great leader within this Broncos team. He's the real energizer of the footy team. The way that he runs the footy, the way he defends. I've played with some great centres, and some of the great centres have been the aggressors of the footy team. I think about Justin Hodges. I think about Greg Inglis. Will Chambers. When you've got a really aggressive centre, that can be infectious throughout your footy team. I think Staggs is that guy for the Broncos. The other thing that the back, well, you call them the outside backs, those back four players minus the fullback, they're so influential on running meters. Who wins that battle will help with that foundation and will help with that field position battle as well. So, is it going to be the two wingers of Melbourne and Warbrick and Coates? Or will it be Mariner, Kerapani? Those two guys have got a huge job. And then the centres, they come back and contribute on those +1 carries. So, Jack Howarth, he's one of the best backfield carriers in the game. Coming up against Katoni Staggs. Gemmet Shibazaki's had a great season. He's a big body. And Nick Meaney, he's always, a 7 out of 10 sort of a player. So, those four players up against each other, they will be thinking about that part of the game and making sure that they're getting back and contributing to getting their team out of trouble more times than not.
And Karapani will take confidence going into this week. So I think just about every one of Nathan Cleary's kicks on Sunday went to his corner, and then you saw the I suppose the work ethic of Gemmet Shibasaki these days. He was in there quickly to take that next carry.
And he's built like a forward, Gemmet. He's a big lad, and he's probably going to have to do the same this weekend. Given Jerome Hughes, he's a prominent kicker in the Melbourne Storm, and that right corner might be a feature for them. Just on Kiripani, one thing that really surprises you, or you probably don't really pick it up, but he's got great footwork and he's got great agility, Kiripani, and he's a pretty strong lad. So, that might have been a ploy from the Penrith Panthers just to stand him still and take him out of those backfield carries. Land on him as he catches the ball. The one real advantage for the Melbourne Storm are these high kicks for their wingers. You think about Warbrick and Coates. If they get a 50-50 opportunity up against Dean Mariner and Kiripani, well, that 50-50 all of a sudden turns into a 75% chance for the Melbourne Storm because of the athleticism, the height, and the ability to catch high balls for those two wingers. I do remember back in round 27, the Broncos were willing to escort players off those two guys and give away penalties and back their defence on their try line. So it'll be interesting, the pressure on Grant Atkins, who's refereeing his first grand final, like how they police that and whether they look for that, because that was an evident ploy for the Broncos with their centres getting over and helping out their wingers, which they have to do because the advantage goes to Melbourne in that regard.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, that is the NRL Grand Final. As I said, we'll get your predictions a little bit later on. There's 3 games on Grand Final day. The winners of the Host Plus Cup in Queensland up against the New South Wales Cup. That's the Burleigh Bears and the New Zealand Warriors. Kicks things off in the
Jet
state
Cleary
championship
playing
final.
in that, the brother of Nathan Cleary, he'd be the halfback for the Warriors. And I believe Matt Geyer's son, is playing for the Burleigh Bears as well. So yes. It'll always a great challenge, that one, because they don't play each other all year. They're in different competitions, and they come back and obviously we've got a New Zealand team, but they're in the New South Wales comp, and then the Queensland Cup teams are all So I've always enjoyed that match.
Yeah, it's a great match, and long may it continue. And then the NRLW Grand Final, well, Billy, we've got teams 1v2.
Yep.
Roosters did it the hard way against the Sharks last week, getting through by a point, so they just got through. The Broncos weren't at their best either, but they did enough to dispose of Newcastle, so we've got the Grand Final we all anticipated in NRLW. Yeah,
there was a bit of a scare for the Roosters, wasn't it? It was... They haven't looked like losing a game all year, and they haven't lost a game. They've been undefeated all the way to this point. And with 10 minutes to go, they got someone sent to the sin bin, and then all of a sudden the Sharks come back, and it was a thrilling game. And I'm sure for John Strange and his Roosters girls, it wouldn't have been all that thrilling. And it's probably a little bit of a wake up call for them because they're playing a team that they only just beat in the regular season in the Broncos, and that was the only loss for the Broncos, and they are flying at the moment. They have got stars all over the park. Scott Prince has got a really good game plan where they use the football. They're all in sync. They understand their roles, and they've got probably what I believe is the best player in the competition in Tamika Upton at fullback, and she can do it all. She is just a threat all the time, all over the field, whether she's passing the ball, whether she's running the ball, and she always wants the ball. So, keep an eye out for the number 1 for the Brisbane Broncos.
Yeah, it'll be a terrific game. 4:00 in New South Wales and Victoria, and 3:00 in Queensland. Because don't forget, daylight savings starts on Saturday night. Yes,
it does.
So starts on Saturday. So the NRLW Grand Final will be a beauty. Cannot wait for that as well. This is the Billy Slater Podcast. We do it all thanks to Tab.
Fans always ask, Lozza, what was the best era of league? And I tell them, nothing beats the line-breaking, flick-passing, goose-stepping, Vegas-flying, turbo-try-scoring, origin drought-breaking, simply the best era of footy we're in right now. And with more market stats and insights, it's easy to enjoy the best era in footy with the best app in footy.
Tab. We're on.
What's gambling really costing you? For free and confidential support, visit gamblinghelponline.org.au.
Now, Billy, you've got your 3, 2 and 1s to give out following the last round, which is the preliminary finals. So your best three players from the preliminary final weekend. This is as your player of the finals. We do it thanks to Tab.
And it's really tough to just select three players from two games, and now their teams are in the grand final. I've gone for the two players that I thought were the best players in their games, and then I've got at one Jahrome Hughes. I just thought Jahrome Hughes' effort. So paint this picture. 3 weeks ago, he breaks his arm, broken arm. He's got a broken arm, gets surgery, gets a plate in it, and plays in a preliminary final 3 weeks later. That game he broke his arm in, he only just come back from a dislocated shoulder, like popped his shoulder out. It was out for a period of time, looked like his season was over. I think that was only like 8 weeks ago. Yeah. So within 2 months, it's like 7 weeks. Within 2 months, he popped his shoulder out, dislocated shoulder. There's obvious damage in that shoulder, and that will probably have to get surgery at the end of the year. Comes back, plays 20 minutes, breaks his arm, plate in. 3 weeks later, he plays in a preliminary final, and not just plays, he sets up the first try, takes a big whack from Teague Wilton, who comes out of the line because he goes nice and deep, creates the overlap. They score in the corner, and only moments later, he gets an offload from Stefano Tuikamanu, and then just attacks the space, puts that left hand out that he broke only 3 weeks ago, palms off a Sharks player, and then just turns on the afterburners and scores. That's a courageous. That's actually, like, we talk about John Sattler and playing with in a grand final with a broken jaw and all that. That's as good as it gets. I thought that was an incredible performance from Jahrome Hughes, and now he's preparing for a grand final. He's got the big Melbourne Inga guard on him, so yeah. He probably deserves more than 1 point, but he gets the 1 point, Jahrome Hughes. I thought the best player...
I can't wait to see the other two.
I know. The best player in that game, I thought, was Cameron Munster. There were some great players in Stefano and Harry Grant and Pappenhausen, but I just thought Cameron Munster didn't leave it to chance. And in the big games, he doesn't. He gets the ball often. He runs the footy. He uses the footy. He brings his outside men into the game, but... I thought he was superb. He put that little kick over for Pappenhausen to score just before half-time. So Munster gets the 2 points. And the 1 point comes from the other game, the Broncos and the Panthers, and it has to go to Payne Haas. No Pat Carrigan. Don't forget, Payne Haas had that ankle injury from the Canberra Raiders game that he carried through that whole game and played with it. No Pat Carrigan. He stayed out there for 80 minutes. No one ran for more metres than Payne Haas for the Broncos. Only one person made more tackles than him, and that was Jordan Ricky. He made 48. Payne made 46. So he made 46 tackles in an 80-minute performance. No one ran for more metres than Payne. So talk about the foundation. He laid that foundation for his footy team, and then came up with two massive moments. I thought the moment to dive on the ball on in the in goal, they put in a little grubber kick. Who was there? Payne Haas. He dives on it. And then at the end of the game, when the game's on the line and Nathan Cleary's looking to put a 2-point field goal over, who's there? Payne Haas. There's been some great performances, but when his front row partner in Pat Carrigan, he's his sidekick. They lean on each other. He didn't get a rest, and he put in all those efforts. I just thought that he got the 3 points over the weekend.
Yeah, superhuman performance there from Payne Haas. We've got a couple of listed questions we'll get to. By the way, the 3, 2 and 1s thanks to Tab. The NRL finals are here for the best time in sport. Tab has the best app in sport. Tab, we're on.
What's gambling really costing you? For free and confidential support, visit gamblinghelponline.org.au.
Martin, we covered off yours when we spoke about what Stefano Tuikamanu said, so thank you for that question. But Julian says, we saw Reece Walsh make the selfless call to hand Adam Reynolds the crucial kick against the Panthers. In a moment like that, does a player rely more on instinct or a predetermined team strategy? What's the best advice you give a player in a potential Golden Point grand final scenario?
Yeah, I believe that would have been a mutual decision. When you miss the kick from not far from the middle, and then you've got a kicker like Adam Reynolds in the footy team, I reckon Reece would have been happy to give the ball to Adam, and I reckon Adam would have been happy to take it. We all know the commentary around Adam Reynolds missing the goal for the Rabbitohs. What year was that? 21 maybe, against the Panthers in the grand final to level it up. He wanted a bit of redemption, and he was confident he nailed that kick, and that's his moment. That's what Adam Reynolds does. I've actually got no doubt. When they scored that try, Mariner scored the try in the right-hand corner, I thought Reece was going to take the kick, and I actually thought he was going to drill it straight down the middle. It was on his favourite side. He's got a great strike of the football. He is probably the most powerful player in the game, Reece Walsh. Whether it's his running power, whether it's his passing power, he's got such a powerful pass on him. And you see that ball that he throws to Gemmet Shibazaki on a face pass on occasions. It's a bullet, and it doesn't go any higher than the shoulders. He's got a really powerful kick on him, whether he's general field play kicking 40-20s, or he's kicking for goal. He is such a powerful player. So I actually thought he was going to take that conversion. And knowing Reece, I thought he was going to drill it. I thought he was going to nail it straight through the middle. But Adam Reynolds stood up, that doesn't surprise you either, does it? That's his bread and butter, Adam Reynolds, and he put his team into a grand final.
He sure did. Thank you for those viewer questions. Let's move on, Billy, to the Ampol Power Surge. This week we're looking at... Now, you only got three.
Yeah.
3 greatest grand final moments.
I'm going to miss some out here.
From any era.
These 3 just come to mind. I was thinking about 3, and there are a whole heap, but these 3 just went bang, bang, bang. And they're the first 3 that came to my mind. And I'm probably going to stick in my era. It doesn't go back all that far. I'm going to start with 2 of them are actually a bit of synergy around this year, 2025. One of them's from 2005 and one of them's from 2015. But I'm going to start with 1997, and the moment that Andrew Johns went down the short side and picked up Darren Albert. That was a moment that just vividly sticks in my memory. And there's going to be times on Sunday that the Andrew Johnses of the team, the players that have to make decisions and make those courageous decisions, it could make or break them. And Andrew Johns went down a short side, found some space for the fastest guy on the field, and Darren Albert. They sealed that premiership in 1997. The second one's a Benji Marshall flick pass. I just think that's a vivid memory of a grand final. That's such a great, iconic grand final moment to make that play or even think about that play on such a big stage from a young man. That's one of them. And the biggest one is probably the Jonathan Thurston field goal. I just think that was a huge moment to deliver the Cowboys. And I'm a North Queensland lad. I grew up in far North Queensland. I supported the Cowboys since when they came into the comp in 95. And to nail their inaugural premiership with a field goal, it's a well-deserved statue out the front of Queensland Country Bank Stadium now, and that's going to live in the memory of many of people for such a long period of time. So, yeah, JT, he gets the moment as well.
No one's going to argue with those 3.
Have you got any off the top of your head there, Salty?
Well, got one come through from Scott on the Gold Coast that says, guys, you'd left out
Sorry, Sats. I forgot. What a moment that was. What a tackle.
Yeah. That was, actually in calling rugby league with Sats for over a decade, we had to watch that tackle every week. He made us made us watch it. You get onto a plane here. We've got to watch the tackle before it takes off. You know, he just watches it all the time. Why wouldn't he?
I'm all about try-scoring plays, Sats. Sorry, mate. And I'll tell you what, if we made it tackles, it would have been front and centre. I'll tell you another tackle that probably doesn't get the accolades that I think it deserves is if you go back and look at the 2009 Grand Final, Storm play Parramatta, and you look at the kickoff, and Dallas Johnson tackles Fuifui Muimui off the kickoff. Dallas would be 82 kilos, and Fui was running riot at the back end of that year. Jared Hayne was on fire, but so was Fuifui Muimui, and he absolutely cuts him in half, and it just really set the tone. So that first tackle of the game, such a crucial statement. You don't want to be going over the top, but at the same time, keep an eye out for that first tackle of the game this Sunday. I know what it did for the Melbourne Storm back in 2009 with Dallas Johnson absolutely cutting Fui in half. And, there might be a statement just right at the start of the game on Sunday.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll tell you another one that comes to mind, Billy, and you know, it's a grand final that lives in infamy, the 1989 grand final. And we talk about moments. It was a grand final that was just full of moments. Obviously, the Steve Jackson try to seal it for Canberra in extra time. But you might remember Benny Elias hit the crossbar for a field goal attempt. It looked like Mick Neal was about to score a try, but the big arm of Mel Meninga diving, the ankle tap. Yeah, and you go through different grand finals, hey, there's those little moments.
Yeah, and there's a lot. 2015 was very similar. You know, the Kyle Felt try with the Morgan flick and then Jonathan Thurston missing the goal, and I always try and remind him of that. He missed the goal. He missed the opportunity to win the game, but then obviously didn't he seal it? So, like, there's... And this one will be the same. This one will be the same. We talk about all those little efforts that are going to be accumulated through the middle of the field for foundation of the game, but it will come down to moments. It'll come down to moments that you take or moments that you don't take. And we're talking about all these things now. And, you know, the crossbar an inch higher and the Tigers win a premiership. Like, that's what it comes down to. And there's already been so many great moments through this final series. That Canberra Broncos game, so many great moments. And then on the weekend, so nothing will be different. You know, it'll be all the efforts of the boring stuff of the game that build and build and build pressure. But then we've got too many stars on the field on Sunday for these moments not to come through.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, that's the Ampol Power Surge. Whether you're cheering from the sidelines or from the living room, Ampol's got your back on and off the field. Proud to power Australia's own sporting nation. Freddie in Bondi just sends an SMS as well. Can you please shut up about the 2003 grand final? So he hates it, doesn't he? Poor old Brad. He'll see it again this week.
Freddie hasn't lived in Bondi for a long time. What is he visiting down there, is he?
Yeah, exactly. Checking up on a few of the properties. Okay, now let's get into it, Billy. I think I know who you're tipping, and you're entitled to do it.
All right.
Yes, predictions for the grand final. So winners.
Sorry, go through.
Yeah, winners for you.
I was about to say you have a good think about this because I'm going to ask you the same question. This is all on me. Firstly, let's go back to before a ball was kicked in 2025. What was my grand final prediction?
Brisbane, Melbourne, wasn't it?
Okay, who's playing in the grand final, Salty?
I think it's Brisbane, Melbourne, Billy. Well done.
Sorry, I just had to clarify that. Just apologies. I just had to clarify that. Predicted the Brisbane, Melbourne grand final before a ball was kicked this year. So, look, winner for me, head and heart are with Melbourne. Obviously, I've been a part of the Melbourne Storm for more than half of my life. Yeah, it's a huge part of my life. They're the team that gave me my opportunity, and I played my whole career there. I still work there. My heart definitely says Melbourne, but my head's Melbourne as well. I just feel that, talk about that foundation of the game. I think they can build that, and I think they've got enough stars to control the game. I think Jerome Hughes, Munster in the halves, Harry Grant at dummy half. He's a real X factor out of dummy half. They can create those quick play the balls, and then Ryan Pappenhausen. He's He's not just a runner. He's not just an excitement machine. He organises so much in that footy team. So I think the Melbourne Storm are the winners.
Clive Churchill medal.
It's going to go to a guy that hasn't won a premiership yet from the Melbourne Storm, and that's their captain, Harry Grant. I just think probably the back half of the year, and there was so many players in the Melbourne Storm spine that were in and out, and Pappenhausen was out for a bit, and Hughes, he broke his arm and then dislocated his shoulder, and he was out for a period of time. Munster was in and out, and Harry Grant was the one constant, and he was the guy that was pulling the strings, controlling everything. I just feel Harry Grant's got a really big game in him, and like I said, if Melbourne can create some ruck speed, which I think they can, I think Harry Grant can have a field day. So he's my Clive Churchill medalist.
Okay, so I'll go through mine then.
Okay.
I am going to go, and I've got the greatest respect for Melbourne, as you know, but I'll go Brisbane. I think this will be extra time. Given what we've seen the last few weeks,
wow.
I'm thinking it goes to extra time. And how's this for a bit of, I suppose, Hollywood ending Ben Hunt with a match-winning field goal in extra time?
Yeah. Look, like I said, my heart's with Melbourne, but boy, I reckon a piece of my heart would be with Benny Hunt as well if that did happen. That'd be a great moment for him. And look, at the end of the day, we've got two great teams with star qualities. If you ask me to sit here and build a case for the Broncos to win the premiership, I could do that easy. And wouldn't that be something if it went into extra time and you've got a shootout between Hughes and Reynolds, Munster and Hunt and Pappenhausen and Walsh wanting to pull the trigger, and oh wow, yeah, I can't wait. It's going to be a sensational game.
And Clive Churchill, I'll go. Is it left field prediction to say Payne Haas for Clive Churchill medal? Because I think if Brisbane win, he's going to have a huge game.
Well, has there been a front rower that's won a Clive Churchill? I don't know if there has. I just off the top of my head, I can't think of. Liam Martin won one from the back row last year, but traditionally it goes to key position players like your halfbacks, fullbacks have won Clive Churchills.
A couple of back rowers have over the years, as you said.
I've given him my 3 points for the preliminary final weekend, and so yeah, he's every chance. The only thing he played...
Brent Kite, by the way, Billy, in
2008?
In 08.
08, yeah. Yeah, I should know that. I was on the receiving end of that one. So,
yeah. Willie Mason in 04 as well.
There you go. There's been a couple. Yeah. There's been a couple. Well, Payne he's every chance. The one thing about Payne, I just think about this a little bit, and Pat Carrigan's coming back into the footy team. He's had a 2-week break or 3-week break for the grand final. I just think Payne will get a rest leading into half-time. I think Pat Carrigan will play the full first half now, and Payne Haas might just get a little bit of a spell, which takes some numbers away from him, but it allows him to get more effective with when he is out there. So, yeah, it's definitely not beyond Payne Haas winning the Clive Churchill if the Broncos win.
I'll have a second pick then. I'll go Katoni Staggs.
Oh, how many picks do you want, Salty? Geez, you got a few, haven't you? Can I pick 3 or 4 as well?
Not. Yeah, why not? Why not? It's like those in the Melbourne Cup, and you can see that, of course, live and free on 9 and 9 now. That say,
you want the trifecta, do you?
Yeah, tip the winner of the Cup. I've had 24.
Box the field.
That's it. How's your horse riding going? You good, by the way? Cup's not far away.
I know, yeah, not far away. I haven't been in the saddle for a while, so I better get back in. Otherwise, she's going to be nice and sore through that Melbourne Cup carnival. But yeah, looking forward to that. That should be a beauty.
Yeah. NRLW, Roosters or Brisbane?
I'm going to go Brisbane. I just think that they... I like the way that they play their footy. I think Scott Prince has done a great job with the structure around how they use the football. I like the stars that they've got, in particular Tamika Upton. Shalom Suaso, who comes off the bench, she is a powerhouse. So she's a real weapon. I think Broncos win. Tamika Upton.
Yeah, I think Brisbane will win. Julia Robinson is my pick for player of the match. I think she's been sensational throughout the year, and she's also my pick for first try scorer. So there you go.
Oh, we didn't go first try scorer. Did you get a first try scorer in the NRL?
Yeah, go for it.
Well, I think Xavier Coates. Multiple chances of scoring tries, whether it be on the end of some movement, plays on Cameron Munster's side of the field. I think that'll be a side that gets the footy a lot. And then obviously the aerial weapon. I just think you give Xavier Coates a 50-50 chance in the air, and he's going to turn it into your favour. So, Coates first try scorer for me. You?
Ali Katoa for me. He's done it quite often throughout the season. So
you're saying the Broncos are coming from behind?
Yeah, there you go. They can do it. They've done it. They've done it against Canberra. They've done it against Penrith. Can they do it against Melbourne?
I'm just trying to fish the fishing rod out there. And see if I can get...
You got it. Mate, this is our last podcast for the year.
What are we going to do?
Yeah.
It's such a long off season when you don't have to do preseason. It like 5 months without footy. Although we have got the Pacific Nations, the Pacific champs.
Yep.
That's going to be incredible. I think that game on the 26th of October on a Sunday afternoon at Suncorp between Samoa and Tonga. I just like we saw a great atmosphere up there last Sunday in that preliminary final. I think this is it's gonna be like an Origin feel. I think it'll be sold out. It'll be a sea of red and a sea of blue. It'll have an Origin feel about it. I think this could be something special, and could be the start of a huge rivalry. And like obviously it's a respectful rivalry, but I just think this could be something really big, and the game can really build off it.
Yeah, can't wait for that. The whole Pacific Championships are going to be great, but that is Sunday afternoon. Yep. Gillaroos play Samoa at 1 o'clock, and then at 3 o'clock, Tonga v Samoa. It will be something special, that's for sure. Then, of course, you've got the Melbourne Cup Carnival. I'll have the tennis through January, and then we'll be in the NRL season again.
Maybe we will be okay.
Yeah,
it just keeps
come and
rolling
do some tennis
on
commentary.
9.
Come and do some tennis commentary with us, Billy.
Yeah, okay. Serve and volley. I don't mind playing a little bit of tennis.
Yeah, we'll have a hit down in Melbourne
Sounds
this
good.
year. But, mate, thanks for having us for the Billy Slater podcast each and every week. It's been a heap of fun. Really enjoyed doing it with you. Your insights in the game are second to none, and it's been a lot of fun each and every Monday getting together to do this. Yeah,
loved it too, mate, and appreciate all your work that you've put in through the year. I just get the feeling that it's not done yet. There's a big game on Sunday that it's just the icing on the cake, and there's going to be some huge moments. But yeah, I appreciate the year, and hope all the listeners have really enjoyed the show, and we'll see you again next year.
Yeah, thanks, Billy. That's Billy Slater. I'm Peter Psaltis. Thanks very much for tuning into the Billy Slater podcast each and every week. Thanks to Jordan Weir and Matty White, the two guys behind the scenes who put the podcast together each and every week. Enjoy grand final day, whichever team you're supporting across the 3 games. Enjoy it. It's going to be a special day, and we'll see you next year.